Hey, it's James, Father's Rights and Resources, hashtag how I got custody. If I'm doing a parenting plan nowadays, there's a lot of things I have in my parenting plan packet in my store. Stuff that people don't think about. First right of refusal, bereavement. If you have a grandparent who passes away and the funeral is on visitation of the mother's time, and you want to bring your kids to the funeral, it's a once-in-a-lifetime event, obviously, and the mother says no, then if you have a parenting plan that I wrote up, or you write up something similar, or like one of the options of the parenting plans I have in my packet in my store, you'll have a clause in there that says, I get bereavement for the death of immediate family, brothers, mothers, so grandparents and uncles and aunts that are significant people in the children's lives. And then you get to take the kids to that funeral, and then the other parent gets to make up the time. Another clause I would have in there is transferring items. I've seen this before, and I just talked to somebody. There's a whole bunch of clauses you should have in a parenting plan, especially the phone contact. Like if you just say reasonable phone contact, well, that's whatever you interpret it to be. When you write up a court order of any sort, whether it's child support, a parenting plan, retirement accounts, all that stuff, if you're not anally specific about details, then you will go back to court and be fighting over what the court order means. Or you'll have somebody who says, you don't get that. My interpretation of that doesn't mean that, or whatever. But if you're very clear, like with phone contact, I'll say a parent can talk to a child once a day for at least 15 minutes. And the other parent won't interfere, won't lurk in the background, won't hover over and stuff like that. I'd put more details in there. And then when the parent calls, if the call is missed, the other parent should call back as immediately soon as possible. Or it falls back on the good night time. And you have a clause in there that says you can call and say good night for 5 minutes to the kid every night at 7:30, 8 o'clock, as long as it doesn't interfere with bedtime or dinner or whatever. And you could have a clause in there that says if you miss your regular call during the day, the good night time can be 20 minutes long or whatever. I always have something in there so if something is missed, there's a backup. Or if it's written in a way, like some people have, you don't ever want it open-ended, confusing, or vague. Some guys are actually so moronically stupid and brain dead, they will sign a parenting plan that says the father shall have visitation as the parties agree, or as agreed upon by the parties. If you weren't such a dumbass of a numbnuts moron, you could sit there and think, you know what, if I sign that, that means we both have to agree on the visit. If she doesn't agree, then I don't get a visit. So she could perpetually disagree with me for the rest of my kid's life, and I'll never see my kid. But there's a bunch of stupid jackass, moronic, ballless bums out there who will sign an order like that. I had a guy reach out to me and talk to me about that. And I said, we can do a consultation and sit down. And he wanted to go back to modify and fix it. And then after I told him, look, that wasn't a good idea to do that. Now you got to go back and modify. You got to argue this. You got to argue that. Here's the law in Washington, yada, yada. I never heard back from him. So that just told me he's just a lazy, shiftless, bum little punk who doesn't really care about his kid enough to put some effort forth. But I understand being beat down and wanting to surrender and sign off on some stuff. But you got to avoid that temptation. When my baby's mom proposed I have full custody, and then she handed physical custody over to me, and we're ready to sign the order, and her signature wasn't on the order, I told the attorney, I'm not signing anything unless I see her signature. You're not going to take my signature and attach it to the back page of anything. I can't trust you. And then he raised hell about it. He was whining, crying, pissing, and moaning. And then later on, when we went back to court, his secretary said that I was the one being hostile in the office. So you want a lot of specifics in there. Another specific is transferring items. You could say something like, each parent shall transfer adequate clothing, toys, the child's favorite toy, or games adequate enough for the visitation time. For example, if you have 2 weeks vacation in the summer, the child should have 14 days worth of clothes. If you get specific like that, then you won't have a parent hoarding all the stuff and making you go out and buy some more stuff. Or you might just want to have everything stocked up or whatever. But, you know, the kid has some favorite items at mom's home and they want to bring them over and the mom just withholds them just to be a vindictive witch. So I would put a transfer of item in there, but you should also have everything covered. Phone contact, FaceTime or video contact. Before video via phones was popular, I used to put Skype in parenting plans or Facebook video messaging or whatever the technology of the day was, and each parent shall maintain an account and share that account with the other parent. Like, you put every detail in there and they shall exchange the account. You know, summer vacation. Like, let's say you're doing every other weekend and all you want is a couple of 1 week vacations in the summer. You can have a clause in there that says each parent shall have 1 week during the summer. Like, some people just leave that open. So what does that mean? When do you get it? Oh, we'll just work it out. No, you're in court. This is why you have to have everything overly broken down, even if you repeat it, just to make sure there's no confusion about it so you don't have to go to court and fight about it, clarify it, or modify it or whatever. You want to finalize this thing for good, so you want to take and exercise care and not be a lazy, shiftless bum and just flippantly like, oh, whatever you write down sounds good to me. Don't be a dumbass like that. Write down every little detail of everything. Like, you have your kids rest of their youth and life until they're 18 to deal with this stuff. Take the time out to do it right. Don't be a bitch. Oh, this is so stressful. I get triggered when I see court papers. So did I. I used to hate going out and checking the mail. During my first custody battle, and I was in and out of court for 20 years. Some of you guys love saying, oh, James had it easy. His custody case was over in 7 months. Bitch, please. I was in and out of court for 20 years. You would never be able to handle the trauma and stress I dealt with for the first 7 months. Then we went back on the mother objected to my relocating from Seattle to Tacoma, 30 miles, while she lived in Los Angeles. We're in court for a year and a half over some frivolous bullcrap that she ended up dropping in the end. I had to go to the Court of Appeals to fix a bad ruling on discretionary review. If you haven't been in and out of court for more than 3 years, you don't know what the hell you're talking about saying James had it easy. I had the most ferocious, vicious opposing attorney that you've ever seen. And all you guys like to say, my baby's mom's attorney is crazy. And then when I sit down and talk to you, like, oh, he called me a bad guy and said I'm abusive. Welcome to the club, bitch. I got thrown in jail for 8 days because I didn't show up to a hearing that I never received notice of. And my child was left parentless. And I got a chance to rebuke the judge in open court. And I said, you are such a callous sociopath. You didn't even care that you left the child parentless. I took better care of the child while I was in jail, reaching out to my family and friends. My high school sweetheart picked me up when I got arrested in front of my child. I had her prepared for that because I knew a bench warrant was out for my arrest for some bull crap. Like I said, I didn't get notified. That was like in 2015. I got custody in 2001, so I'm going to jail in 2015 for what? Because the mother said I didn't give her school and medical records. She never asked for them in 15 years. But I had an attorney who was able to admit it. And once I got in jail, the attorney was able to keep me. The judge only wanted me in jail until I signed some release forms. And the mother's attorney kept me in jail for 8 days. I had an incompetent attorney who wasn't on her stuff. I had to get an attorney because I was in jail. I couldn't access the computer, and they didn't know why I was in there and stuff. So, in any case, so I've been through all this stuff. That's why people who don't listen to me, they're idiots. I've been through it all. When you guys look at people on YouTube and look at all their channels, ask them what the hell they've been through, what they've overcome, and if they've won anything. You cannot find somebody who's been through it, who was deprived of their kid, and then who got their kid on their own without an attorney and continue to be dragged into court and continue to win in the Court of Appeals. None of those people out there are talking and doing this stuff. So, anyway, you want to have every little thing in there possible that covers every little thing so there's no confusion, it's very clear, and there's nothing to debate over, including the clauses I mentioned.